Okay, so the question here we have is there's a shell which is projected vertically upwards and it explodes into three identical fragments just the instant when it reaches its highest point. Okay. Now, one of the fragment is observed to come straight down to the ground in a time t1, whereas the other two fragments they land onto the ground in time t2 after the explosion. So we have to find an expression for the height h at which the explosion took place. An expression for height h from the ground where the explosion took place.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I got the answer to be g t2 square by 2
G t2 square by 2
minus t2h by 4t1
minus t2h by
4t1
4t1
plus t1 square t2g by 4t1
plus t1 square t2g by
4t1 like t1 t2g by 4
t1 t2g by 4.
4.
I think you can again rearrange the answer because in the expression you told like H term is there.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
is the answer half G T1 T2 into 2 T2 minus T1 by 2 T1 minus T2?
Half G T1 T2 into 2 T1 minus T2 by
2 T2 minus T1 by 2 T1 minus T2.
okay.
Sir, is the answer G T1 T2 into T1 plus 2 T2 by 2 into 2 T1 plus T2?
G T1 T2 into T1 plus 2 T2 by
2 into 2 T1 plus T2.
2 into 2 T1 plus 2.
Yes, sir. Like the coefficients are other way in numerator and denominator.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so in the question, it is given that there is a particle which is projected like vertically upwards, a shell which is projected and moves to a height h, and then explodes into 3 fragments. Okay, so it has reached the highest point. So here this height h is given to be the highest point of the shell before it explodes into 3 fragments. Okay, now one of the fragment is said to be moving straight down, and it takes t1 time to like. Okay, the first fragment, it takes a time of t1 to reach the ground. Obviously, it may be having some initial velocity. Let us suppose that its initial velocity is okay, the initial velocity of this shell when it is moving down. Let's consider it to be some u. Okay, and it takes time t1 to reach the ground. The other two fragments, they are found to take t2 time to reach the ground. So the other two fragments, we can expect, since they take same amount of time, which means they must be projected at the same angle with the horizon. Okay, we can say that both the other fragments may be projected symmetrically with the same angle with the, because and that too they are projected with same speeds also. So you can say that both of them must be projected with same speeds and also at like the same angle with the horizon. Now there are two reasons for actually considering that both of them must be having same speeds and they should also be projected at same angle. One reason is that both of these particles should have same velocity components in x directions. They should have horizontal components of velocities of these two fragments, of second and third fragments, should be equal. Okay, because then only momentum will be conserved in horizontal. Okay, right? Because the third fragment or the first fragment doesn't have any momentum in horizontal direction. So second and third fragments momentums should cancel one another. So therefore, the initial velocity of both second and third fragments along the horizontal should be same. Okay. Now coming to vertical velocity. Okay. Now vertical velocity of the two fragments, if you consider, since they are taking same time to reach the ground, so which means they both of them must be projected like with same vertical velocity. Okay, because you get this relation vertical displacement equal to uy into t minus half gt squared. Okay, so if uy is not same for both, then displacement, vertical displacement in the same amount of time also will not be same. So therefore, both horizontal and vertical velocities are same for the second and third fragments, which means that they must be having same vertical component. Let us suppose that vertical components of velocity for these two are uy and. Okay. Now, during the explosion, during the instant or during the small time where explosion has taken place, we can say that momentum is conserved in vertical direction. Okay, because although gravity is acting, but gravity will not play a significant role in such a small amount of time. So it won't be wrong if I use momentum conservation even in vertical direction also at the time of explosion. Okay, so I can say that initial momentum was 0 in vertical direction. This must be equal to final momentum in vertical direction, which should be if I take downward as possible, then it should be mu plus 2m into u. So it gives you uy equal. Uy will be minus 2. Minus sign is coming because it is upwards. Right? So the initial velocity is are in upward directions, but their magnitudes are half of that of first particle. Okay, this is what we can conclude. Okay, by using the momentum conservation principle. Okay, and these particles which are projected with vertical velocity of u by 2, they take a time of p by 2 to reach them. The time taken to reach the ground is t2. Okay, so using this information, using t1 and t2, we have to find this height. Okay? So what can we do? So how we can determine t1 and t2? How we can determine this height h using t1 and t2? Because even u is not known to us.
We can eliminate u, sir.
We have to eliminate, yes, because u is not given to us, so we have to eliminate.
Yes.
Okay. In order to eliminate u, I think we can consider one thing. We can consider that. Yes.
No, sir. We'll write that s equal to ut plus half at square 2 times with t1 and t2.
Yes, yes. So we can write a second equation for both particles, t1 and t2. Okay. But one more thing we can also do here is, you can see here that in vertical direction, center of mass of the system will only undergo free fall. center of mass is only going to undergo free fall even after the explosion. Okay, because the shell was initially at rest when it exploded. So what we can do is in time t1, if I am considering, the first particle is over here. The first particle here, and the second and third particles may be somewhere here, because they may have moved like this. They may be somewhere here, and that too we can say that second and third particles should be at the same height. By symmetry, we can say they must be at same heights. Let that height be something. Okay. In time t1, what distance will center of mass move vertically? So I can say y coordinate of center of mass. If I take this as origin, this point if I take as origin, y coordinate of center of mass should be half g into t1. Okay, half g into t1 square will be y coordinate of center. Okay, now this half g into t1 square we can also write it. We can say m into h plus 2m into h1 by 3. From center of mass concept in the y direction, like this is h can be considered as y coordinate of particle 1, and h1 can be considered to be y coordinates of these two particles. So this is h1. Okay, so that is the vertical displacement of 2 and 3 particles. So you will get from this, m is getting cancelled here. So you get 3 times or 3 by 2 half gt 3 by 2 gt1 square is equal to h plus 2. Or we can write this as 3 by 2 gt1 square minus h equal to minus h by 2 equal to. Okay. So h1 can be considered to be the vertical displacement of 2 and 3 particles. Now what we can do is we can consider the vertical displacement of particle 2 or particle 3 in time t1. In time t1, h1 is the vertical displacement. H1 is supposed to be the vertical displacement of particle 2 and 5. So we can also write h1 as minus u by 2 into t1 plus half g. This is the second equation I am using for particle 2 and particle 3, because they start off with a velocity of minus u by 2 upwards. I am taking downward as positive here. So it is half gt1 square minus u by 2 into t1. That should be equal to h1. So this h1 and this h1 we can equate. Okay, this h1 and this h1 we can equate. Then we will get a relation only in u, t1 and h. Okay, so this will give you. Okay, so here we get this is one equating these two, we will get 3 by 2 into gt1 square minus h by 2. That should be equal to minus u by 2 into t1 plus half g. Okay, we can also write it as u by 2 into t1 is equal to it is half gt1 square minus 3 by 2 or minus 3 by 4 gt1 square minus 6. Okay, so this is one equation we get. Okay, now what we will do is we will consider in time t2. Okay, now just now we have seen in time t1 like what will happen. We have not used to time t2 anywhere so far, right? So we use time t2 now, and in time t2 we know 2 and 3 reach the ground. Okay, so we'll see what that gives us. Okay, so in time t2, let us suppose that if ground were not there, just consider if ground were not there, then the particles will continue to move vertically down. They will continue to move with free fall acceleration. Okay, So in time t2, both 2 and 3 are going to be at these positions. Both 2 and 3 are going to get height h. Okay, and 1 may be somewhere over. We expect that the time t2 is obviously going to be more than time t1, right? Because like these are thrown vertically upwards, so they will take more time to reach the ground. Obviously, in that time you will expect like particle 1 to move even down further. Okay, so this whole distance we can consider as some h2. This whole distance h2. Okay, now we know that the displacement of center of mass during this time t2 will be half g2. So this we can write as half g2 square. We can also consider as 2m into h plus m into h2. Right. Again using into h2 by 3. Okay. So this gives you 3 by 2 gt2 square is equal to 2h plus h2. Okay. That is h2 equal to 3 by 2 gt2 square. Okay. Now another thing we can also do is that in time t2, particle 1 has moved till here, and it is actually projected down with the initial velocity of u. Okay, so this height h2 we can also write as it is u into t2 plus half g into t2. Using second equation, we can write this u t2 plus half g t2 square. This is h2. So this h2 and this h2 can be equated. Okay, so then you should get this is also equal to 3 by 2 g t2 square minus. Okay, so you get ut2 is equal to 3 by 2 gt square minus half gt square. That will be half gt minus 2. Okay, so this we can take as equation. So here we have an equation where it is u by 2 t1 assist, and here we have u t2 assist. I think it's easy for you to see that if you want to eliminate u, you just have to divide the two equations. Okay, if you just divide the first and second equations, u will get eliminated, and then you can find out what will be h in terms of t1 and t2. Right? So you will just get dividing like both of these equations. You will get t2 by 2t2 by t1. If you divide 2 and 1, you will get 2t2 by t1. That will be equal to half g t2 square minus 2h. By this is going to be half g t1 square minus 3 by 4 g t1 square. So this comes out to be h by 2 minus 1 by 4 g. So then cross multiplying, we can determine what the h will come out to be. Right? Next, is it you? So if you solve, if you proceed further and try to solve it, I think you may get value of h will come out to be something like g t1 t2 by 2 into 2 t1 plus t2 by t1 plus 2. I think something like this. I'm not sure, but might be something. You might have already solved, so you can just check. It may be either 2t1 plus t2 by t1 plus 2t2 or the other way around. This t1 plus 2t2 by 2 t1.
The other way.
Yes. Yes,
2
please.
t1 plus t2.
The
The
other way.
numerator is
Reverse numerator and denominator.
okay. T1 plus 2t2. T1 plus 2t2 plus 2t1 plus.
Numerator and denominator reverse.
Yeah, now it is correct. Anybody has solved like in any other way other than this? One other way you can try to do is you can use the fact that in t1 time the particle has particle 1 has reached the ground, so you will get h in terms of t1. Okay, h in terms of t1 and u. And another equation you will get is for particle 2 and 3. They will travel a distance h in a time t2. okay, with their initial velocity being u by 2 upwards. So we get one more equation relating h, u and t2. So from those two equations, we have to eliminate. So we have a question here. There are two small balls, each of mass m, are attached to each other by a light rigid rod of length L. Okay, now this system stands vertically in a corner formed by a frictionless vertical wall and a horizontal frictionless floor. Okay, so it stands vertically against a vertical frictionless wall. Now the bottom of the bottom ball A is given a slight push towards the right, and after that the system begins to slide. Okay, it begins to slide, and with B resting against the wall and A slides away from the wall. Okay, so we have to find an expression for speed of the lower ball when the upper ball is about to lose contact with the ball. Okay, when the upper ball B is about to lose contact with the ball, we have to find an expression for speed of the lower. In the same question, also find the angle made by the rod with the vertical when the ball B is about to lose contact.
So
Yes.
I can find the position of the center of mass at any given angle theta, right? So based on that, if I differentiate that, I'll get the velocity of center of mass, and if I
Position of center of mass at any given theta.
yes, sir, and
How
then
do you
I'll
find-
so I'll assume that it moves by a certain distance x to the right, and then I'll take if I take this as a coordinate system with a as the origin, I can find the point of center of mass of that system, no sir, at any instance.
Yeah, but how do you like determine position of A at any general theta?
So like let's say the rod makes an angle theta with the vertical.
You're just finding coordinates of center of mass at some general theta when the rod makes an angle theta with the vertical, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. If I differentiate that, I'll get the velocity of center of mass at any instance, and if I double differentiate, I'll get the acceleration, right?
But one problem is there here. See, the problem is that when you differentiate it, you are going to differentiate theta also, right?
Yes, sir. I'll differentiate theta as well. That I'll keep in mind.
Theta, you will get the d theta by dt, which is omega.
Yes, sir. I took that also, sir. I took that in consideration as well.
Right.
When I double differentiate, I will get alpha, and I'll get a relation. I'll get alpha omega square and the acceleration in the horizontal and vertical direction, right?
For center of mass.
Yeah. And when it's about to lose contact, the net force acting on the system in the horizontal direction will be 0. So the acceleration in the horizontal direction should be 0.
Yes.
So based on that, I can take, if I equate that to 0, I'll get a relationship between alpha and omega.
Okay.
If I take torque equations at that point, I'll get alpha in terms of mg and L and
torque equation
about center of mass.
Okay. Now, what are the forces which will produce torque about center of mass?
It will only be the normal force due to the horizontal surface.
Okay.
And I can find that normal force by balancing forces in the vertical direction, because there is no motion in the vertical direction, right?
No, normal force you're balancing with the forces in vertical direction,
which will be 2 mg. So it will be 2 mg.
2 mg, but you can't equate normal force to 2 mg, right?
Why, sir? Because there's only
center of mass will have vertical acceleration.
Okay, fine. Understood, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, can we say at the time when ball P loses contact, the normal force from the vertical wall on B will be 0, no, sir?
Yes. Normal force will become 0 when it is about to lose contact.
Okay. So, and the forces along the rod also should be forces exerted by ball B on the normal, along the normal, and forces exerted by ball A along the normal should be equal, no, sir?
Okay.
So we'll get theta will be 45 degrees.
But how you can say theta is 45 from that?
Sir, in the starting, what I assumed was if theta, the mg component is 0, no, sir, due to ball B.
Okay.
That along the rod, which is there, it will be more than the mg component of A along the rod.
No, I'm not able to actually get to what you're trying to say, because you're saying that the mg component you're taking
along the rod.
Yeah.
Initially, when theta was just 0, sir,
okay.
In that case,
when theta was 0, both mg components are downwards only.
So I'm assuming that when that at theta equal to 45, the tension direction in the rod will get reversed, sir. Until then, tension was acting outward, no, sir?
Yes.
After
but
theta equal
to tension in the rod.
Yes, sir, tension in the rod.
Okay.
And after theta equal to 45 degrees.
No, but why theta equal to 45 only, you can say that? Can't it be some other angle?
Sir, at that point only, the upper end tries to slip more along the rod, no, sir. After that theta only, if you look at the point B along the rod.
I'm not able to convince myself that it should be 45 degrees only.
Okay.
It should be I agree with what you're saying that at that instant normal force should become 0, and even the tension force also should change its direction. Inward and outward it will change. So that all I say. But I'm not able to convince myself that it should be at 45 degree only.
Sir, if we look at it like this, like if at point B, mg will act downwards, no sir. At point B, at the point B, when it's losing contact.
Okay.
So like that point, if I take the whole rod and the balls as one system,
Okay.
and one force is acting at point B and another force is acting at point A.
Okay.
So if we take the force component acting at point B along the rod,
Force component acting at point B along the rod. Is
Yes,
the
sir.
force due to mg force you are taking?
it's mg force, sir. Yes, sir.
Mg is component along the rod. Okay.
Yes, sir. That will be mg cos theta, no, sir.
Okay.
Now, if I again take the force component of point A along the rod,
mg is force along the rod.
yes, sir, at point A.
Point A. Okay.
Now, the points are like, if the force at point B along the rod is more, then that point will tend to slip away, no, sir, like along the rod towards A. That's
Is
what
the
I'm assuming.
force on? Is the force on?
Like if that force at point B, that mg force component, that's the only force, no, sir, at that end.
Okay.
If that end's component is like more than what is there at A, then maybe the point will tend to slip away from the rod.
No, that we can't say. No,
Okay. Okay, sir.
that we can't say. See, the thing is, they will have same relative velocity along the rod will be like same for both.
Okay.
At any point of time, relative velocity along the rod will be same. It will never change.
Okay. Sir, I have one doubt, sir. Like, can we assume that about the center of mass, the 2 points will always be in circular motion, sir? About the center of mass.
We can say about center of mass, they should have a circular motion.
Okay.
And they should have circular motion with radius L by 2.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
where is it? Root 8gr by 27.
Root 8gr by
27.
27.
Yes, sir.
You found the angle also?
Not exactly, sir. Like we need not find the angle, sir.
No, I asked you to find angle also.
Okay, I'll find.
The question is later on I also added, find the angle that rod makes with the vertical when B is about to lose contact.
Sir, is it cos inverse 2 by 3?
Cos inverse
2 by 3.
2 by 3.
Yes, sir. When that height is 12 by 3, it is losing contact.
When the height is 12 by 3, it is losing contact. Okay, you use the condition that normal force is becoming 0, no?
Yes, sir. And then it will have velocity equal to minus dy by dt, sir.
Okay.
And that acceleration due to gravity is d square y by dt square.
Acceleration due to gravity is d square y by dt square.
That is the acceleration it will have, no, sir, downward.
For which body you have taken acceleration as g?
The upper one, which is about to lose contact, it will only have mg in downward direction, no, sir.
Tension
Mg in
force
downward.
also.
What about tension force?
Yes.
Won't that be there?
Yes, sir, there is.
Sir,
Yes.
I have a doubt, sir. Here A and B are already joined to the wall now, sir.
Yeah.
And there is no other force in the horizontal direction except normal force on B, no, sir.
Yes, yes.
So why won't it immediately lose contact?
Why won't it immediately lose contact? If normal force is acting, like for B, if you see, individually, if you are seeing for B in this case,
Yes, sir.
okay. So for point B, you can say that it will have forces acting due to normal force, and also there will be a force developed in the rod also. No?
Yes, sir.
There will be a force developed in the rod also. And if you look at the whole rod as a system, then normal force is acting, and the center of mass also has horizontal acceleration.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, it is not contradicting in a way, no?
Yes, sir. But I'm talking as ball B as a single system, sir.
Also for horizontal acceleration for center of mass.
Yes, sir. So what about ball B as a system, sir?
If you take only ball B, then ball
Yes,
B
sir.
normal force is there and tension force is there.
Tension force is currently vertical, no, sir.
No, that is initially, but you are given it a slight push, no? You are given A a slight push
Yes, sir.
force, right?
The tension force will act in direction of normal force, sir. It won't cancel it.
No, why it will act in the direction of normal force?
Because tension will be away from B, no sir.
Tension force, it will be a pushing force. It will be a compressive force initially.
Oh,
Sir,
Yeah, because like A is getting pressed, no, by the rod. Because A is moving, B due to its own weight, it tries to press against the rod and it will try to push A further. So there will be a compressive force developed in the rod.
oh,
the
sir,
okay.
sir, at the point where the center of mass, where B is going to lose contact, sir.
Yeah.
We can say that there is no horizontal acceleration for center of mass, no, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is no horizontal acceleration for center of mass. Okay.
Sir, so at the point where velocity of A is maximum, rather velocity acceleration of A is 0.
Acceleration of A is 0.
Yes, sir.
That
At that
is, you
point,
mean to say when they are about to lose contact, acceleration of A should be 0.
Sir,
Yes,
when
sir.
it is about to lose contact, it will not have any horizontal acceleration, no, sir.
B will about B or about
The
A?
upper body.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
sir,
B should not have horizontal.
I'm talking
Then
about the
tension
entire system
should
itself.
not
sir.
be there, no, sir.
Yeah, entire system
Sir,
also should not be having horizontal acceleration.
yes.
Yeah.
Sir, so if entire system does not have horizontal acceleration, that means even A does not have horizontal acceleration.
Yeah, A also should not have horizontal acceleration.
Yes, sir. And throughout the motion, like we can find the velocity of A as some general function of theta, sir.
Velocity
Sir,
of A as general function.
Sir,
of
but
theta.
we can have
Yes.
horizontal acceleration, no, sir.
No, I'm talking about the entire
that-
systems, not as.
No, he is talking about like instant where it is about to lose contact.
Yes, sir. At that instant, he told the whole system has no horizontal acceleration.
uh,
Yeah.
That doesn't imply that A doesn't have any horizontal acceleration, no, sir.
See, even B also will have like no horizontal acceleration at that time.
Sir, it has a tension component, no, sir.
The tension component.
It
will
has
become
no
zero at that.
horizontal acceleration, so tension should be 0, sir.
Tension should become 0 at that instant.
yes, sir, exactly.
Sir,
the
how
point.
can you
I'll
say it has
explain
no
actually.
horizontal
I'll
acceleration, sir?
explain.
I'm not able to understand.
I understand what. Well, I'll just. The consensus is- Okay, so we have A here and B here. So at some general instant, we can calculate velocity by using work energy theorem. Okay, so the rod has come to this position. So at this position, theta, we can say that this distance is L cos theta. So B has moved down by L minus L cos theta. Okay, because initially rod was vertical. So B has obviously moved by L minus L cos theta, and A has not moved vertically. So gravity work is done only on B. So work done by gravity will be mg L into 1 minus 4. This must be equal to delta K of this. Because normal force and tension force in the rod are not going to do any work. Okay, so we will consider only gravity work done here. This is equal to half m VA square plus half m VB square. Okay, VA will be like VB. Okay, another thing we can do is, let us suppose that this is x and this is y. This length is x and this length is y. Okay, then we can say that x will be equal to L sin theta and y will be equal to L. In this right angle triangle, we will be able to say x is L sin theta and y is L cos theta, and dx by dt, dx, or dx, or we can call that as VA. VA will be dx by dt. Because at what rate x is changing, that must be velocity of A. Okay, so that is dx by dt, which will be equal to L cos theta into d theta by. Okay, now here d theta by dt will be the rate at which this angle is increasing. Okay, or it is the rate at which the angle made by the rod with the vertical is increasing. So that d theta by dt can be also considered as angular velocity of rod. Okay, they can consider as omega of the rod. So this is L cos theta. Okay, similarly we can differentiate y. If you differentiate y, you will get dy by dt can be considered as minus b, because b is going down and y is decreasing, right? As b is moving down, so dy by dt can be considered as minus b, and that should be equal to minus L sin theta d theta. So therefore, d theta by dt is same as omega. So this gives you Vb equal to L sin theta. And equal to L sin theta. So now you can substitute the Va and Vb in this energy equation, and you can find omega. Okay, so substituting that here, we'll get mg L into 1 minus cos theta equal to half m into Va square plus Vb square. So the Va square is this. This is Va square. This is Vb square. So when you take Va square and Vb square, you get L square into omega square into sin square theta plus cos theta, which is anyway 1. So therefore, you just get half m omega square L square equal to mgl into 1 minus 1. Okay. So then we can say that omega square equal to 2g L into 1 minus 1. Or it's 2g by L into 1 minus 1. Okay. So this is one expression we get for omega, angular velocity at any general theta. And once you get expression for omega, you can find Va and you can find Vb also at any general theta. We can find Va and Vb. Okay. Next, what we will do is we will use the condition. What is the condition for B to lose contact? Now, in the beginning, what happens when the rod was sliding and when B was able to maintain contact? When B was able to maintain contact, the rod was developing forces this way on A and this way on. The tension forces were acting like this. You can call that as tension force, or you can call that as compressive force. Like, it's up to you how you want to name it. But you should understand what it actually means. There's a force which pushes both B and A away from each other. That force is developed by the rod. Okay, and that pushes A towards right, and it pushes B in this way. So there's a force of push acting this way, and that force works against the normal force. So in a way, normal force is acting opposite to that force, and both the forces remain balanced, and the ball B remains in contact with the wall. Okay. But very soon, after some time, the situation may change, and it may turn out that very soon, like a stage may reach where normal force will become 0. Okay, and this force which was acting also will turn out. Okay, and this force
can't
may
explain
change.
only.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Otherwise, we can't explain why normal force is not there if the tension force doesn't become 0.
Yeah, right. Because as the velocity of this body is increasing, because like the distance between A and B cannot change. Okay, distance between A and B cannot change, and as the velocity of A increases, okay, so a time would come where the force will change its direction. This force of compressive force which is acting outwards can become inwards after some time. Okay, or it can become like a force of pull after some time. And when that is going to happen, then normal force is no longer required, because normal force cannot be a force of pull. On B, normal force cannot be a force of pull, it can only be a force of push. Okay, so that is when you can say B is likely to lose contact. So if you want to find the point where B actually is going to lose contact, you will consider that at that instant normal force is just going to be.
Sir, but why exactly is tension pushing the both bodies, sir?
Why exactly is tension pushing?
Like both the bodies.
The tension force is like an internal force. No? It's a force which A exerts on B or B exerts on A. Now, if A
Yes.
is experiencing a push, then B also will experience a push. No,
No, sir. Like
So
I'm
it's
saying, why is it pushing, sir? Like A is revolving.
It is pushing because like when you keep the rod vertical, obviously you will agree with the fact that it is pushing only. No?
Yes, sir.
Because if you keep the rod vertical, this ball A wants to stay on the ground. Now ball
Yes,
B
sir.
wants to come down. So it
Yes, sir.
pushes the rod, and therefore a force of push develops. Now when you slightly give a push to the lower ball, even
Yes,
then also situation is somewhat similar only. Right? That
sir.
downward tendency of ball A, ball B to move downward, it tends to push the rod, and it tends to develop a compressive force in A, which pushes A towards right.
Sir, but A and B both are revolving around. I mean, they are undergoing circular motion with respect to center of mass, no, sir.
A and B are undergoing circular motion with respect to center of mass. Yes.
Sir, so like there must be some force which has which acts
Okay,
as.
like going by your logic you are trying to show. I'll give you one thing. See, suppose if there is a point, let's say this is center of mass, and if two bodies are undergoing circular motion with respect to center of mass. Now, if the velocities are less, okay, the velocities are less, and if there is a tendency to move inwards,
Yes, sir.
okay, there's a tendency to move inwards for some reason for the bodies, then there will be a force which tries to like counterbalance that, and that force will be developed by this product. That is in the beginning when the speeds are less, when the speeds with respect to center of mass are less. But as the body is keep moving like this, the speeds with respect to center of mass will increase, right? And then the outward forces of the two masses, the tendency to move outwards will increase because of the increased centrifugal force, like with respect to center of mass, if you can. Right? Because if you see in that rotating reference frame also, the masses will try to move away from each other. And in order to prevent them from moving from each other, obviously the rod should develop a force inverse. It should develop a inward pulling force. Right? So you can see why the tendency of like the force developed by the rod should change over the course of motion. Right? So some point of time will come. We don't know when it is going to be, but where the direction in which this force is acting is going to change its instead of being a force of push, it will become a force of pull. When that happens, there will be a tendency of there will be a chance that the B will lose contact. Okay. So what we can do is at the instant when B is about to lose contact, we can consider that this force also is, and if this force becomes zero, if this P force becomes zero, then A will not experience any horizontal. That means we can say that at the moment when B loses contact, B is about to lose contact. We can say that acceleration of B should be zero, because acceleration of B was zero even before also, isn't it? Acceleration of B was zero. Acceleration of B in horizontal direction. Acceleration of B in horizontal direction was zero even earlier also, and even now also it should be zero because it hasn't lost contact. It is about to lose contact. Right? It's just about to lose contact, so it is about to begin its motion. So it's not going to be abruptly going to have some high acceleration all of a sudden, right? So it will begin with zero only, even though it starts increasing its acceleration at the horizontal direction. So we can consider that B has an acceleration of zero, like in the horizontal direction, which is zero. Even A also is having a zero acceleration because there is no tension force, no. At the instant when contact is about to lose. That is because if normal force has become zero, the net force acting on this whole system along the horizontal also has become zero. Momentarily it has become zero. If that is the case, even center of mass also should not have any horizontal acceleration. And if one of the bodies doesn't have horizontal acceleration, the other body also should not have horizontal acceleration. If center of mass has zero acceleration. Because if one of them is having zero acceleration, and if center of mass also has zero acceleration, how come the other body will have non-zero acceleration? That is not possible. Okay, so therefore we can say even A also should have zero acceleration, and if A has zero acceleration, okay, then we can do one thing. At this particular instant of time, we know that with respect to A, B undergoes circular motion, or with respect to B, A undergoes circular motion, or with respect to one body, other body undergoes circular motion. So let us consider A as our reference, and with respect to A, we can write force equation for B. Okay, so if I write force equation for B with respect to A. Okay, so in the reference of B, in the reference of A, this is when B is about to lose contact. I am very particular about this. Okay. When B is about to lose contact, that instant I am considering force equation in the reference frame of A. Okay, so the reference frame of A, this tension force is not there. Normal force also is not there. Only force acting on B is mg force, mg which is acting downwards. Okay, so I take component of mg along the rod. Okay, component of mg along the rod, that will be mg cos. Now this force should be equal to m into VB relative square, right? Because obviously B will have some centripetal acceleration towards A. Okay, or you can also consider this as m into omega square into L. It's up to you how you want. Because centripetal mass into centripetal acceleration is m omega square L, and angular velocity of the rod is known to be omega. So angular velocity of B with respect to A also is omega. Okay, so m omega square into L is what we as a So this is the condition we get. Okay, I think this equation we can correlate with this equation. Okay, we have omega square is 2g by L into 1 minus cos theta. Here we have omega square is this. So we equate omega square in both the equations. So omega square equal to g by L cos theta can be equated to this omega square 2g by L into 1 minus cos theta. Okay, because we are considering at the instant where B is about to lose contact, we are getting this equation. Because this is valid only for that instant. This relation between omega and L, omega and theta is valid only for the instant where it is about to lose contact. Okay, and this is however valid for all theta. So obviously both of these equations like should give you same condition. In both of them like should agree to each other. So therefore I am equating the omega square and getting both. So I will get from this.
Sir, when you initially took VB square, sir.
When I took
Initially, when you took MVB square by L.
MVB square, yeah.
VB relative square by
L. You can take MVB relative square by L, or you can take M omega square into L also. It's the same only.
That VB square, VB relative will be perpendicular to the rod component, or it should be.
So VB relative should be like this is VB relative. See, B's velocity relative to A will be perpendicular to rod.
Yes, sir.
Velocity of B relative to A cannot be along the rod. It has to be perpendicular to rod. Okay, if you calculate that, you will get omega into L. VB relative.
Okay, sir.
Right? I can actually show you. See, because what did we get BA and VB? BA, how much we got?
Sir, cos theta into under root of 2gl into 1 minus
We got
cos.
omega into cos theta, right?
Yes, sir.
Omega into cos theta or omega into sin theta?
Sin theta.
No, I think
No,
it's
sir, cos theta only. Cos theta.
Cos theta. Okay.
And VB is omega into sin theta.
Yes.
Right? This is BA and this is VB. So what I'll do is I'll take component of VB perpendicular to rod and component of BA also perpendicular to rod. I'll take. Okay. Component of VB perpendicular to rod, it will be VB sin theta. And component of VA perpendicular to rod will be VA cos theta. So I'll add both of them to get relative velocity because both are the components of VA and VB perpendicular to rods are in opposite directions. So relative velocity of B with respect to A you can get by adding. So we can say velocity of B with respect to A in the direction perpendicular to rod should be equal to VB sin theta plus VA. But you know VB is nothing but omega L sin theta. So it comes out to be omega L sin square theta plus omega L cos. But that will come out to be same as omega. Right? That's why I just switched from taking VB relative to omega because we already know an expression for omega. We know how omega is dependent on theta. So I simply switched from taking VB relative to omega instead of taking mass into centripetal acceleration as m into VB relative square by L, you can also take m omega square into L. Okay, so you get this equation cos theta equal to 2 minus 2 cos theta. So it comes out to be as 3 cos theta equal to 2. Then you can substitute this cos theta and find omega.
Sir, one more way.
Point.
Yes.
Sir, if point of contact at point B, if the normal force is 0, sir,
Yeah.
then how are we able to equate mg cos theta equals to m omega square L, sir? There will be some tension also, no?
The tension has to be
Tension also is
0.
0. Tension is 0 at that instant. That's what I was telling you now. Like tension at that instant has become 0. When B is about to lose contact, even tension also is becoming 0. Because the reason for thinking that tension should be 0 at that instant is because normal force is becoming 0 on B, and acceleration of B also will be 0 on. Acceleration of B along horizontal should be 0 because till then it was 0. Even when it is about to lose contact, also it will be 0. Right? So acceleration of B along horizontal is 0, and center of mass acceleration along horizontal also is 0 because normal force has become 0. So therefore, acceleration of A along horizontal should be 0. Now, if acceleration of A along horizontal is 0, then how we can have tension force? Tension force also should be 0 at that instant.
Sir, we can do one more way, sir. Like we got that acceleration of A 0, no, sir.
Yeah.
Then we'll differentiate VA, sir.
Sir, we can write some x square plus y square equal to L square and find dx by dt, dy by dt. and then d square by dt square equal to g.
Yes, you can do that.
And then even use work energy theorem for finding.
We already found VA, no, sir.
Yeah, we already found omega. We found VA. We already found VA also here. See, we can do
Yes,
that.
sir.
We already found VA. Differentiate VA. So we get dVA by dt. That is acceleration of A. Acceleration of A we are taking as 0, no? So if you are considering acceleration of A to be 0, at the instant when these are to lose contact, that means derivative of this also should be 0. So
Sir,
that
instead of VA, we'll differentiate VA square, sir. Because omega square has a nice term than omega.
yes, okay, we can do that. Right? We'll take VA square equal to omega square L square into cos square theta.
Yes, sir. And we'll
And then we
differentiate
get
this.
2VA into dAVA by dt. Okay. Now dVA by dt is acceleration of A. Okay. This should be equal to, here we'll get 2 omega into L square cos square theta plus omega square L square into 2 cos theta into minus sin theta dt. Theta by minus sin theta into omega. Okay. This is the expression we get. So here 2 will be cancelled, and you can like also say that this term is 0 only. Okay, so you will get something like omega cube. You will get omega L square cos square theta will be equal to omega cube into L square into sin theta. This expression will, okay, and omega will get cancelled.
We can cancel sin theta or cos theta also, sir. Because
Yes,
we know that would be extreme cases. Sir.
One sin theta and one cos theta will
One
get
cos
cancelled.
theta, yes.
And the L square will get cancelled. So what we are getting is omega square is coming out to be equal to, or omega square into sin theta. Okay. Omega square into sin theta, okay, is coming out to be equal to cos theta. Okay, so that relation we are getting from this. On the left hand side, it is anyway 0 because the acceleration of because when you differentiate here. But one thing is we have discovered one thing in this while differentiating. See, when I differentiated omega square, I took 2 omega into, but I should get 2 omega into alpha also.
Yes, sir.
You should get alpha.
Sir,
also.
instead of writing it in still in terms of omega, we'll write it in terms of theta only, sir.
We'll write it in terms of
Theta only, sir. Omega square L is 2j into
but
1 minus.
but you get alpha in terms of omega square and theta. But doing this.
No, sir. The initial expression only, sir. VA square equal to omega square. No, sir. There only will replace omega square with cos theta, like 2j into 1 minus cos.
Okay, you are writing your VA square. In case of omega square, you are putting this 2g into 1, 2g
Yes,
by
sir,
L
yes.
into 1 minus cos.
Yes, sir.
So then you
So
will
that
get
finally I'll have only
2g by L into 1 minus cos theta into L square cos.
yes, sir. No, this differentiation are directly equal to 0. Sir.
This differentiation you can take. Differentiation of this VA square will be 0. So differentiation of this should be 0.
Yes, sir. That gives cos theta equal to 2 by 3.
So you can get cos theta from that.
Yes.
Right? So after getting cos theta equal to 2 by 3, like we got here cos theta is 2 by 3, then we can substitute that cos theta in this expression, and we will get what is velocity of A, because we want to find velocity of A when B loses contact. The velocity of A will be omega L into, in place of omega we have to use this expression, because we are getting omega is equal to G by L cos theta, because here we got omega, we are getting omega to be equal to root G by L cos theta. So this omega we can substitute here. So we get VA equal to root G by L cos theta into L cos theta. And then in this we can substitute theta equal to 2 by 3, cos theta equal to 2 by 3.
Sir, can we use instantaneous axis of rotation here, sir?
Instantaneous axis of rotation, yes, you can use that. You can use instantaneous axis of rotation to find what is omega. I mean, what we got here right now, we got omega square equal to 2g by L into 1 minus cos theta by using energy equation. So same thing you can find by using instantaneous axis of rotation. But other than that, we have to do these things. You have to use the condition that normal force is becoming 0 and tension is becoming zero. Those conditions we have to use, even if you use instantaneous acceleration constant.
Okay.
Okay, is it here? Okay, so like here we'll close the discussion here for today, and we will continue in the next session.